So, outside of just looking at a few charts today, I wanted to look at some news events together, and I wanted to go over a different way of viewing news events because I know a lot of people talk about fundamentals, a lot of people talk about whatever event always comes up, and I wanna give a different take on that because in my opinion, more often than not, what people see as good news is not actually going to play out well for the markets. And there are a few rules to that. There are a few ways you can handle that. But in general, it is something you can approach pretty systematically. So it is something you can adapt to really well, and you can use your own analysis. So that's what I wanna talk about today. And apart from that, we're obviously going to take a quick look at the markets, and we're going to see what's up after this push today. Look at some tickers, and that's that's going to be it. Okay. So, with that being said, let's get started. I'm gonna go onto a fresh BTC chart. This one is not empty. Is this one? Yeah, well, empty enough. Okay. I want to go onto a fresh BTC chart, and I want to go and look at a few news events. So, what I want to teach today is I want to teach a way to think very critically about the market, and one of the ways we're going to approach this is through the lens of something that is called the efficient market hypothesis. And essentially what that is um, if I mark it down, what the efficient market hypothesis says is if everyone agrees on something, the market is already pricing it in. If something is going to happen, the market is already pricing it in. So let's say everything agrees that something good is going to happen. There's a really good chance that the market has already priced that in, and once that good thing actually happens, that is not going to actually be good for the markets. A quick way of showcasing that is a very simple, let's say, a story. So some of you might have seen me put this story in chat a few times already because I always ask this question to get people to start thinking about events a bit more. But let's start the story. And preferably, I want you guys to actually try and answer my questions in chat, right? I'm going to ask you guys questions. You're going to have to put the answer in chat, and we're going to go through it together. So let's say you have a guy that you trust in the markets. There's a random really good analyst, and that really good analyst says that the market is going to go up tomorrow. And that's what the analyst is telling you. And you think this analyst is a good analyst, so you believe him. What would you do if someone tells you this? If the analyst is telling you the market is going to go up tomorrow, what would you do right now? You would buy. Try and see what my own analysis is. That is the correct answer. That is the one. That should be the correct answer. The answer I'm looking for indeed is buy. Say that again. The question was, if an analyst, and you think this is a good analyst, so you trust them, if an analyst says the market is going to go up tomorrow, what would you do? That was the question. You would likely buy. Very simple. There's a good chance you're going to buy. Now, what are you planning to do tomorrow when the market is going to go up? So, let's say you bought and the market is actually going to go up tomorrow. What are you going to do? If it's Harmonic trade, I would counter trade. Full port 400x leverage. That sounds like a fantastic idea. For the question, you have bought, right? Analyst said market's going to go up tomorrow, and you have bought. Tomorrow comes, what are you planning to do when you wake up? You wake up, you're going to go check the markets. What do you want to do?
We want to buy.
No, the next day. So market's going to go up tomorrow. Well, tomorrow comes. What is your plan? What do you want to do? Look where to sell. Exactly. If the market's going to go up tomorrow and you are buying with the reasoning that the market is going to go up tomorrow, then tomorrow comes, you would likely want to sell because this is the reason you bought. So tomorrow comes, you sell because the reason you bought is now here. This is the reason. Tomorrow is here. I'm going to sell. And that makes a lot of sense. In essence, we can treat news this way. Now, this is obviously a massive oversimplification, right? There are a ton of details that don't get covered in this. But we can treat news in a very similar manner. Like in a very, very similar manner. So, let's do this again. Let's say everyone thinks something good is going to happen. So, something that is inarguably good for an asset. So let's say an ETF is going to go live or whatever, something like that. Brings a ton of volume. Those things are good, right? So let's say a newspaper, like a ton of newspapers are sending that to everyone, sending good news to everyone, and they're telling everyone, hey, the market is going to go up tomorrow. Everyone thinks the market is going to go up tomorrow because there's some news event that everyone thinks is good, so the market's going to go up tomorrow. What are these people going to do? Like, right now. Not tomorrow, but right now. What would these people do? They buy. Exactly. Very simple. If you think something very good is going to happen for the market, you are going to buy. That makes a lot of sense. So they would buy. Now, tomorrow comes, this event comes, and the event happens. The people who care about this event, right? The people that actually agree that the market's going to go up tomorrow. So the people that care about this event, they can no longer buy. They have already bought. That's these people. They already have it. So what are they going to do now that this event is here? What are they going to do now that tomorrow is here? They're going to dump. They're going to sell it. And this, in essence, is a way you can look at news. Again, this is an oversimplification, but this works for so many news events. And the reason for that is very simple. What people think the market is going to do, they're going to act on that. Because it makes a lot of sense. If you think the market's going to go up, you are going to buy. Well, if that is for a reason that everyone knows, there are really big chances that a lot of people are doing the same thing. So when that event actually happens, all of those people bought for the same reason. That reason is now gone. If that reason is gone, why would they still hold on to their assets? There's a really good chance they're all going to sell. And this is one of the reasons why a lot of news events turn into sell the news events. This is one of the reasons why the term sell the news events exists. Because in essence, news is very good, but a lot of people know news is very good. That is not something new. So people are already going to act on that. And buying before the news event happens is just trying to think one step ahead. But in markets where everyone is trying to compete against each other and where everyone is acting in their own interests, that is not enough. That is never going to work. As a more live example, let's look at Ethereum, for example. Ethereum is a nearly perfect example for the reason that we had several instances. So we knew that an Ethereum ETF was likely going to get filed somewhere in the future, right? Because in this region, the BTC ETF got approved, so we know this was going to happen. It was getting delayed infinitely, whatever. For those who weren't here at the time, during this entire situation, people didn't think the ETF was going to get approved. So people didn't care about it too much. Then you would think this is the ETF going live or getting approved. All that this was the thing that that acted as a catalyst here was a simple estimation of people saying the ETF is likely gonna get approved in a few weeks. So I really like this example because essentially what happened here is people, what's it called? People came under the assumption that the ETF was gonna get approved in a few weeks. So what did they do? They buy. Because the ETF is something inarguably good. So in your head, that translates to, hey, if that is inarguably good, Ethereum is going to go up in a few weeks. So I want to have Ethereum. And that is this. Now, after that, not much happened, right? The ETF got approved somewhere in this region, I think. This is where it actually went live, as far as I'm concerned. It either got approved or went live here. So when this event actually happened, the actual sell the news started. Because all of the people that bought in this region, the reason why they bought was now gone. And that's when it started actually like heavily underperforming. I didn't have the time to actually get the dates for this. If you really want the source, you can just search up Ethereum news, Ethereum ETF approval date, and Ethereum ETF going live, like something like that. You'll get the dates. It's gonna be over here, and the other one is somewhere in this region. Either way, this is one of the ways I look at news, and this is one of the ways I recommend people to start looking at news. You don't have to look at it this way, but it is useful to keep in mind. It is useful to keep in mind, hey, if everyone thinks this event is going to be good, is that actually good? Or have they already acted on it? Is this something that people don't know, or is this something that people are already pricing in? And this is a part of the efficient market hypothesis, and we can use this with everything. Now, I do want to note, trading start Ethereum ETF was 23/07/2024. What was that? 23/07. This is where the ETF went live, right here, according to Vijaya in chat. This is where the Ethereum ETF goes live. This is where the rumors came out that the ETF was likely going to get approved. So this is exactly what I'm trying to showcase, right? Whenever these events actually happen, there is a really, really good chance that it is not going to go the way people expect. Because there's a really high chance people have already acted on what they think is going to happen. Okay, so I'm going to use one more example where this was the case. And then I'm going to go over some other ways to look at it. So I want to go to Bonk. And the reason I want to go to Bonk is to showcase that this doesn't always have to be a textbook reversal. So Ethereum was very clearly a textbook reversal. Right? Ethereum just started nuking afterwards. But yeah, I can look at that date as well, at the approval date later. Ethereum was a very clear reversal, right? The reason why I want to look at Bonk is to showcase that it doesn't always have to fully reverse. Sometimes either news is still good or the chart is still pointing upwards. That happens. News events are not always complete reversals, right? Sometimes they are literally good. In Bitcoin's case, well, it did bring a lot more volume and the charts are good. So it's very likely that the ETFs accelerated growth after the initial sell-off. But even when you go onto the BTC chart, there was an initial sell-off. The reason why I want to look at Bonk is Bonk had a really nice news event. So essentially, Bonk announced that they were going to do a burn. Starting from, I only know where it is on the chart, I don't even know the date. It's where they SFP'd this high. Yeah, so starting from 16th of November or 15th, Bonk was going to burn a lot of tokens. And for those of you that don't know what it means, let's say a coin has like 1 billion tokens. Bonk was essentially going to say, hey, we're going to literally take like 10% of that, we're going to throw it into the fire, it doesn't exist anymore. So basic supply and demand, there is now less Bonk, which means Bonk is technically worth more. It's more scarce, right? So burning tokens is really good. Now, when these things happen, it is good to take into account that more often than not, everyone that actually thinks that matters has already bought here. So what happens when the actual event comes? You get an initial dump. And the reason why I want to showcase this is because very, very often where you get that initial reaction, but when you look at Bonk's chart in general, Bonk on this chart still looked really good. This is a very clear, very textbook uptrending chart, right? It is literally doing this. There is a difference between what news does to weak charts and strong charts. This is almost a textbook uptrend. This is quite literally going up, a bit down, up, a bit down. It's actually doing this. This is a very clear uptrend. More often than not, when you are actually uptrending, your news event would just be one of these legs. It would just send you down slightly. But when you are downtrending, so let's go back on Eve. Is the chart empty? Yeah, empty enough. When you are downtrending, so let's look at Eve, right? What's it called? So when we look at Eve, first high, low, first lower high, then this is an implied downtrend. This is not an actual downtrend, right? Because we haven't fully broken the low. This is an implied downtrend because of the first lower high. And then we started putting in the second lower high over here. When we look at Eve, this is not so clear of an uptrend as it is with Bonk. Even when you look at a higher time frame, Ethereum over here just put in a random lower high way earlier, way before all-time high. This doesn't look strong at all. So more often than not, what news events will actually do is they will often follow technical analysis instead of what the news event is implying. Because more often than not, when something like this happens in an actual downtrend, it will have a far greater effect than it will have in an uptrend. In an uptrend, more often than not, it is just going to be a very small dent in price. So even though news events like these often cause sell-offs, it doesn't mean it has to like instantly go to zero. It doesn't mean it's going to reverse an entire move. What it does mean is that it will often cause a reaction. And where that reaction is going to go, how far it's going to be, that there is no way to find out apart from technical analysis. So for that, you would simply have to use TA for it. Where did Bonk bounce after this news event? Well, very simple. There's a little demand zone right there. And a golden candle, wick to wick, that's where it bounced from. So for this reason, I always say whenever news events happen, is DTA will tell me what's up. The technical analysis will tell me what's up, because in the end, it's a very good news event starting right there. But does it matter? Well, not really. The chart's already uptrending, and the actual news event causes a sell-off. Where does it bounce? Well, simply the next demand zone. Now, this way of thinking implies that everyone agrees that something is good. There are a few conditions to this. The first was everyone has to think something is good. So, for example, tokens getting burned is inarguably good. There is simply less supply. So, comparatively, there's more demand. That is always good for an asset. If there's less supply, there is more demand, which is good for asset price. Something like an ETF going live means that a lot more people can trade it. There's a way wider audience that can trade it, especially in this case, institutions and hedge funds and wills and whatever. Through an ETF, you open up to a wider audience, add a lot more volume. That is really good. Now, those things were also rather certain to happen. Bonk starting a burn almost 100%, right? Because they said they're going to do a burn. There's no reason for them to say it and then not do it. The ETF getting approved was very high odds. I mean, the odds that got released that people actually read upon were in the 90%, whatever. The ETF going live was almost 100%. Almost guaranteed, because they literally gave a date, like at this moment, that is when the ETF is going to go live. That's when it's going to start trading. There are some events where you either don't have that certainty, or don't have a date, where you don't know where it's going to happen or when it's going to happen. If you don't know when it's going to happen, price impact will likely be less for the reason that not everyone is going to buy it in time, sell it in time, etc. It spreads it out because the people that know about it, it's going to spread out. I'm going to give an example for that in a bit, but first I want to go to the other one, and that is, what if the event is not sure to happen? For example, let's go on to BTC. Let's go to the election. When we go to the election, we knew that out of the two candidates, it was likely that Trump was going to be better for crypto than Kamala. Polls came in, etc. Trump was leading, but not by a margin where you would say this is like a 90 to 10. You might think so, but in the end, the statistics just put it somewhere in the middle, right? You don't 100% know that Trump is going to win, even though we thought it was really likely. That is something that people can only partially price in. If you 100% certain know something is going to happen, you can act on that. If I'm telling you the market's going to go up tomorrow, you can act on it. You can go onto the market and buy. But if I'm telling you, hey, I would say there's a 50% chance, or well, let's say 55% chance. I would say there's like a 55% chance that the market's going to go up tomorrow. And there's like a 45% chance that it's going to go down a lot. That is something that some people in here would take, right? Because odds are in your favor, and we are traders. But there's also just a lot of people that wouldn't take that bet. If I'm going to go up to a random person on the street and I'm going to say, hey, 55% chance the market's going to go up tomorrow, they're going to call me an idiot. And they're not going to think about buying. There's a difference in something that is guaranteed to go up and something that you think might go up. There's a difference in how you act. And that difference is very important. So some news events, specifically, for example, the elections, we know that Trump winning is good. We know he is likely to win, but it isn't guaranteed. It is still up to, well, it's not really chance, right? But let's say it's still up to chance. So for that reason, events like that, where you don't actually know what's going to happen, this doesn't work for those events. There are other ways you can do that. Very lame answer, but just use TA. I mean, there's always going to be a harmonic front running a news event. Short answer, just use TA. But different answer is this way of thinking does not work for news events that are not guaranteed to happen. So even though this works really well for events that we know are going to happen, it doesn't always work for other news events. So with that said, the main moral of the story here is try to very, very actively think about what a news event is going to do and how others view it. That is a very important part. Do others see it as good? Does everyone see it as good? Or is it only a small percentage? Do we know if it's actually going to happen, or is it just a chance? Because those things matter a lot for news events. Okay, that was the that was like the first part I wanted to showcase. Are there any questions about that? Because I am not going to go over how you predict news events in this. That is something I only go over with my students. But I am going to try and showcase you guys about. Yeah, that's what I'm going to go to next. I wanted to talk about the inauguration. Yeah, the stock market is close on that day. That is absolutely intentional. I can guarantee you that. Yeah, no, that is absolutely intentional. Yeah. Did you notice as well, Caleb? I go over this in class quite often. Did you notice when a war broke out? War broke out over here, right? So people over here, long story short, were expecting a retaliation. Do you notice that? I think this was the retaliation, right? Or was this a tether foot? It was one of the two. But you notice that these events, like the result of these events, usually happens when the market is closed. So this one was, it started on market close. So then only after market opens again are you actually going to see the relevant reaction. This happens very often. That is absolutely intentional. Okay, so let's talk about the inauguration. So let's look at what we just showcased, right? For the efficient market hypothesis, we set up a few conditions. We said it has to be inarguably good. Oh, side note, I've been using good examples every time. This obviously also works the other way around. If something is inarguably bad for the markets, this also works. A very good recent example of that was the Tether FUD. This region is where Tether was going to do a bunch of regulations in Europe, and people were going to delist it and whatnot. And that was going to happen on December 30th. Well, there's December 30th. That is where your bad news happened, and then price started going up. This, what I just explained, also works for bad news events, not just for the good ones. It's just easier to explain that way. Okay, so one of the conditions we laid out, it had to be inarguably good. So when we talk about Trump's inauguration, now I am not the biggest, I don't have like a massive knowledge of American politics because I don't care about it, but inauguration is essentially him coming into office, right? This is him actually gaining the power. Like, he already got elected, and that's when he's going to actually become the president. So once this happens, we have a pro-crypto, well, self-proclaimed pro-crypto, wow, that is way harder to pronounce than I thought. We have a self-proclaimed pro-crypto president who is supposedly gonna do a ton of really good things for crypto. He's gonna put in a lot of new rules. He's gonna make a Bitcoin reserve. Yeah, and I have to translate it as well, right? I think in English when I'm saying these things, but sometimes I have to like translate back and forth. So I was struggling. He's gonna do a ton of good things, like for example, starting the Bitcoin reserve. So when we look at this, is there an argument we can make outside of what I just said, as outside of the official market hypothesis? Is there an argument we can make for Trump actually being bad for the crypto markets? Is there an argument we can make for Trump having a negative effect on crypto? Because I cannot come up with one. So in my opinion, we check this box. In my opinion, Trump coming into office is inarguably good for the markets. And if anyone disagrees with that, welcome to put it in chat. Only negative is regulation. Stabilization is also more. Yeah, well, fair enough. Yeah, okay. Fair enough. More taxes, yeah, that counts. I wouldn't count it as necessarily bad for the markets, just bad for the people that want to trade the markets, because if you make a profit, now you're going to have to give some of that to the US, which is sad. But apart from that, I cannot come up with one. And that's genuinely thinking about it, right? Because this is one of the ways I trade. So this is me trying to gain a bias. Now, we also needed it to be on a set date. Set date. Well, we have that. We know when it's going to happen. It's going to be on the 20th. So we obviously check this box. And some of his economic plans could hurt the economy. True. Now, is that bad for the dollar or for risk on assets? Because that is entirely true what you're saying, and I think he's going to be bad for the dollar, personally. Both. And why would it be both? When we look at the dollar, since we are charting our assets against the dollar, well, it's USDT, but same thing. If the dollar becomes worth less, then on average, crypto will be worth more, and the other way around, right? These are not directly correlated, but the dollar and risk on assets, so that means companies, and that means gold, that means oil, that means every asset, crypto included. Well, gold is not really a risk on asset, but same thing. In general, if the dollar goes down, risk on assets will go up overall. It isn't directly correlated, but it does have a correlation. So I would say his plans are bad for the economy. I would also say that you can make a very, very good argument that is actually good for risk on assets. But that's a good point that you brought up. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Those kind of points. So we can, I guess, add a little star to this. Or add a little star. Maybe it's going to be bad for the economy to an extent where risk on assets are actually going to suffer, because something like a what's it called again? A recession. Something like a recession isn't necessarily good for assets, even though it's really bad for the dollar. But let's keep it at that. There's a little star next to this. Now, the last one was that it had to be guaranteed to happen. Is it guaranteed to happen? Well, he might randomly get shot. That has happened before he came into office. But the chances are so unbelievably low. I would compare it to something like the ETF saying, hey, we're going to go live on this date. Well, there's a very slight chance that they're not actually going to put trading live on that day. But in general, I would say it's pretty guaranteed. I would say it's pretty guaranteed that Trump is actually going to go into office on the 20th. I think the chances are very slim of this not happening, so I would tick this box. Now, for this reason, I think that Trump going into office is bad for the markets, because all of these are checked, and everyone that does this reasoning is going to check those boxes. And to support that thesis of everyone thinking this is good, we can look back at the election. Because the moment he got elected, we went from having 2 boxes to 3. Because let's look at this before he got elected. Before he got elected, if Trump were to go into office, it would be arguably good for the markets, because we knew his point of view on crypto already. If he would get into office, it would be good. We also knew, well, I think we knew the inauguration date already, but maybe we didn't. I don't know how the US works in that. But in general, you know that there's going to be a set date for it. But it wasn't guaranteed to happen. So the moment he got elected, that is when this box got checked as well. That is the moment when all 3 of these boxes got checked. So in theory, that is the moment when people should start buying. That is the moment when we look at the Ethereum chart where people think, hey, the ETF is going to get approved, I'm going to buy. That is the moment when we look at the bond chart and we think, hey, they're going to burn a bunch of tokens, I should start buying. So when we look at BTC, it was this chart. When we look at BTC, that is the moment when people are going to be, hey, Trump is going to come into office, I should start buying. So to support this idea of him being inarguably good for the markets, actually being bad for the markets, we can see that the moment all of the boxes got ticked, people started buying. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. We're talking about critically thinking about news events. So, and in this case specifically, we're talking about him going to office. So the moment he got elected here, or well, he didn't. I think this was the moment where people saw like the actual votes come in, and it was like 70 to 30% on the first stage, and people were like, "Oh, he's gonna win." But the moment he got elected, that's when people started actually buying. So when we compare that to other news events, is it actually gonna be good that he's gonna go into office? Because I don't think so. Now, there is always a chance of having like a little short squeeze first, right? Because this is a very big event. So there's always a little chance of just, hey, it happened and it goes up really fast and then it starts to sell off. That can happen. But in, let's say, a day or a few days after the election or after he comes into office, I think with this reasoning, there is a very good chance that the markets are going to be down. I think there's a very good chance that after he comes into office, the markets are going to be downtrending. And this is the reason why. Now, obviously, we have a little star here, and obviously, it is still the market. It doesn't 100% have to happen. This is something I use for almost every single news event, and this is something that very often happens. So I am rather sure that I don't think he's going to be good for the market. I want to give the disclaimer, like, don't full put short just because I'm telling you it's going to be bad. Do not do that. But as a trader, you need to consider that it could be bad that Trump comes into office. Because it is inarguably good. Because there are so many reasons why it should be good. That is one of the reasons why you should consider that, hey, it might be bad. So that is, let's say my little talk. That is the thing I wanted to go over in this stream, like the main topic. I wanted to showcase you guys a different way of looking at news events. So whenever people ask me in chat, what do you think about this event? I usually say, I don't care about news events. In reality, it is not that I don't care. In reality, it is that I look at it this way. And on top of that, I will value technical analysis over everything. So usually, I think about the news events like this. I will see if technical analysis supports my thesis. And if it does, I will take action on it, like I would with any other play. With any other short or long, I would simply take it. Because why would news make it any different? So, are there any questions about that? All right. Always give me asking for questions. Always give me an excuse to shut up, so I have some time to drink. Gonna keep that habit forever, probably. Okay. So as for the first class, I highly recommend anyone that followed it think about it. You don't have to take this as fact because it isn't, but consider this as well and try and see if you can do this with past news events. Try and see if you can go onto a chart, look at news events, and see, hey, are these things playing out? Because more often than not, in my opinion, they do. More often than not, this plays out. And that is one of the reasons why I consider news in such a different way. Now, with that being said, let's actually start looking at the markets. So, are there any coins you guys want to look at? Because I have charted a lot, and I want to see some new tickers. I'll look at Hype. Hype's a good one. Let's take a look at Hype. I think Gate has the oldest beta right now. Okay, it's this one. We barely front ran the last entry we had. That's really sad. But we haven't really broken the downtrend yet. So, Hype currently, even though a lot of people might try to convince me otherwise, when we look at the 4-hour time frame on Hype, I view this chart as a downtrend, right? This is a very obvious high, low, high, low, high, low. So, because this is obviously a downtrending chart, and I would see this as the current high, we are currently still downtrending. So I still think there's a chance we actually start filling this butterfly for hype, and we either start filling that butterfly or there's also a bad. This is the ghost wave, by the way. So I don't consider this one for harmonics because price didn't actually go there. Or if we don't fill the butterfly, there's a good chance we fill this bat right here. So as for hype, as long as we are trading below this B point, that is in my eyes what validates your harmonic. I will still assume that there's a really good chance that we will get to this bat. Now, if we actually break this high right over here, that's when we will actually start flipping market structure, right? So currently we're just doing this. If we now break this high, we would start doing this. So if we break that high, if we start closing 4-hour candles above it, I will consider it as an uptrend. That's when my thesis becomes invalid. But before that happens, I will consider this chart downtrending. So I think we either get this butterfly right here, or we go lower and get this bat right here. Either of these will do. And if we do, I'm probably going to buy some spot because that is, that's a really good discount on hype. Because in general, apart from it currently being downtrending, this one is really strong. And we haven't even, like, this is kind of the first low we're trying to form on a higher time frame. So this chart is still, like, it still looks really good on a higher time frame. It just needs to be aware because this is downtrending on a lower time frame. So as for hype, I would still wait for this level. And then maybe just get something like this. I will probably take this on spot, so I wouldn't actually take this as a long ride. But I would like to just take this. It's gonna play a field away kind of thing. And TPs would be, is it just an estimation because we haven't actually formed the bottom yet? But TPs would be somewhere in this region. Let me remove all of this. Make it a bit more clear. I'll look for something like this on hype. This would likely be a spot position, so we're able to hold it longer, but this would more or less be it. And by the way, Trading Brown, everything is recorded. So we took about half an hour for that talk, I think. No, probably slightly more. So I'll upload it after the stream is done. Sui, ENA, and Link. Hey, you guys are finally suggesting proper coins. That's really nice. I don't have to look at fart coin and butthole coin anymore. And no, I'm not going to do those. I shouldn't have said that out loud. Okay, let's take a look at Sui. So, well, this was the last thing we drew on Sui, right? Last time we went on Sui, we drew that. We have already reacted to that. We've even broken the C point already. Yeah, I still am. I still fit. Or well, let's keep it like this. I don't think Hook is gonna go a lot lower. And if it's gonna start going up, you know what? I'm gonna look at Hook after this. I think that's better, so I can showcase the chart as well. But yes, I think it can go to $3. Okay, so last time we looked at Sui, we drew that bat over there, and we reacted off that. But with that, we obviously bounce off of an 886 there. Now, we cannot actually draw a harmonic like this. There is no harmonic that has an 886 here and an AC that is above 1 here. So there is nothing I can do on that. However, we can use a little trick called an ABCD. And that is because this, when we look at this, our A to C leg right here is a 1.13. So I showed this little trick to Caleb the other day, and I've showcased it in stream a few times before because it's a really nice and simple chart pattern. Something very easy we can do, and something that is very closely related to fibs, is this. When we look at price lags, so for example, we can consider this a price lag because price went up. And even though price in general moves like this, we can see that this is something in between, right? This way it went up, then it went down. So something that we can very easily do is we take the length of that price lag. You can just use a trend line for that if you want to. And if we move that right on top of that C point, this level is going to be very important. And why is that? Well, one of the things you do when you look at charts, and one of the things everyone does, even if you don't know it, even if it's just intuitively, is you look to the left. What happened there? And all of us will think, hey, last time, when this was the bottom and we moved up this far, the moment we got there, we started dropping. So if you move that same distance again, a lot of people are going to think, hey, we did exactly that, I'm going to sell. And a lot of people don't know that, right? You don't know that as a reason why you think that. But this happens a lot. Where if you have two moves of the same length, you're going to react at the same area. This is one of the things harmonics are based on, this theory. So in this case, I'm going to calculate exactly, and that's going to be... This is how trend-based fibs are calculated, for those who don't know. R1 is going to be that area. And then in this case, because I'm also a harmonic trader, right? A 113 is the opposite of an 886. So the top will be an 886. So this will be our reversal area, most likely. AB equals CD. No, that doesn't always have to happen. That depends on... So in this case, this one is slightly above a 1.13. If it's slightly below it, then these are going to be the other way around. So that doesn't always have to happen. And it doesn't have to be in this shape, right? I misread your question. No, it doesn't have to be. That's not always the case. I'll showcase a different example after this. So in this case, there's your ABCD. So I think once we tap this is a really good place to start rejecting. Because this chart, keep in mind, this chart is also just downtrending on the 4 hour, right? There's your high, there's your low, lower high, lower low. So a lot of lower low would make a lot of sense. So yeah, I think that is more or less the area we're going to go through to, and that's where we are most likely to reject. How would I take a play? Well, it's really hard to give a stop loss like this, right? But probably somewhere above the wicks over here. Then take it down, and this is going to be your main TP. So as for Sui, that's what I will be looking for. Okay, and to showcase that it doesn't always have to be like that. Wait, let me mark it out like that so I can hide it. So to answer your question, you asked essentially, okay, so for this pattern, D always has to be below B for a little bit. This doesn't have to happen. In this case, it does because C is below A. So logically speaking, this move, if it starts here, is going to be lower than this, right? But it isn't always that way. For example, and I can literally use Sui for this example, which is really nice. Let's look at it like this. So in this case, we had the exact opposite. This is essentially an 886. And where did we end up reacting? At that 113, as we have just showcased. So this also works as a really nice example that yes, this is a thing that does work on the charts. When you simply take a trend line, you take that initial price leg, then so this is to measure distance, right? This is to measure distance from the top of the move to the bottom of the move. And you simply drag that, put it at the start of the next price leg. Where did we end up rejecting? right there. It's a very, very simple chart pattern, like a really simple chart pattern, but this works really well. This is one of the things harmonics are based on. Yeah, it really is, right? I really like this one. It's a nice little trick. What's it called? The example I always use is this one. When you look at the Ethereum bear market, right? If you ever wanna wonder why we bounced where we did, you can do the exact same thing. Take a trend line. This is your first price leg down. Place it on the second price leg. Where do you bounce? Right there. This works really well. Now, this will obviously not work 100% of the time. Same with other trading things, right? But this is something that works really reliably, and this is something that not a lot of people actually know for some reason, even though it's so simple and it works so well. Okay, so that's it. That's it for Sui. I'm just gonna go through them top to bottom, right? So let's go ENA next. ENA. That's actually I haven't actually looked at ENA for quite some time. The last thing we had was a short that got stopped. It hit like 2 TPs and I got stopped at break even. Okay, where is ENA? Should be. And our spot position. I got tapped out. Okay. So as for ENA, this is my macro chart for ENA, right? This is the one we use for the spot position. We entered spot here, TP1, TP2, got stopped at break even. Okay. When we look at this and we consider these boxes important support and resistance levels, these are all harmonics, but you can view them as the same thing. It's just an area that's very important. So when we look at this, essentially what this chart is telling us is, hey, we have turned from an uptrend into a downtrend. The moment we started closing below this level and this level, this chart became a downtrend. Now, that is not something you want to see if you're holding a lot of spot. That is something that gives us a lot of confidence for shorts. This is now a downtrending chart, in my opinion. When we look at this on the 4-hour or the 6-hour, this is a downtrend. So we should start looking for shorts. Where would we look for shorts? Well, we have a bearish harmonic right there. Let me actually, I think it's this one. Yeah, it is right there. So I think this is a good area to look for shorts. Now this is hard to execute because this area is rather wide. But in general, there's actually a good chance that this swept the high on a perp chart. Wait, let me check. Did it? No, equalize. Okay. There is a good chance that this goes up and sweeps this. I think if you get that, I think you can get a really good short in. So essentially, since we are looking for shorts because this chart is in a downtrend, and we know that this bearish harmonic is an important level, if we now also get confidence that, hey, we're going to wick these highs and then close below, I think it is really good for a short. So what I would do is I would wait for that to happen, and if it happens, I would open a short. Just like that. Now, we might also just have some bearish harmonics right here. Yeah, there's a bat. There's a bearish bat right there. Okay, I'm gonna actually draw this out on the spot chart. Try and get a play in. So when I look at this, when I place my harmonics, right, I look for W shape first. Then when I place my X, my A, and my B. This is 0.5. So now I am looking for a bat, which means I am looking at the 0.886 right there. So essentially, this, wait, let me actually use a different one. This is where I'd be looking. This is my area of interest. So things like consolidation here, getting bearish divergences, and liquidity sweeps. All of these are signs that this harmonics could play out, and we have almost all of them. We essentially have all of them. This is the only one I closed above. So I think this chart is honestly good for shorts. Now, as I said, because these are equal highs, like we didn't actually take the highs, there's a good chance we actually go up and sweep these first. But I would say if that happens, you have a ton of confluence for a short. So I'm gonna place it below that squiggle on purpose, right? So it's right above that squiggle. That's what I would do, and these would likely be the TPs. Let me make that white. Yeah, links on the list already. So I think if this sweeps, that's gonna be your trigger. And if that happens, I think it's good for a short. So that is it for ENA. Now let's look at Link. I'm glad we didn't take that. Width. I can look at width, but we're already in a position. My opinion on width is that it's gonna go up a lot more. Okay, so this sharp box is now invalid because it got what's called because this C point got lower. So top of the box would be right there. And bottom of the box would be right there. That was really nice. That it became so much tighter. After the sweep, are we looking for a 4-hour close below? Yeah. When I talk about sweeps, what I mean is a candle that wicks within, then closes below. So the easiest answer I can think of is XRP, where you have a very important high right here. So in this case, in XRP's case, it's all-time high, right? A very important level. And you look at it and you see price wick within, and then once it closes, once it closes below, you can take a position based on that. Another example that is already played out, just to show that it works, would be Solana. You have a very important high right there. You wick into it. You close the candle below. You can enter on the close, stops above the wick. That is how we play sweeps. Huge doji candle, yeah. If you know how to read candlesticks, that is going to be a lot easier as well. Because the individual candlestick will also tell you a lot. There is, what's it called? If you know how to read candlesticks for Jaya, you will know why I always bring this example up. Because Zach did literally the most perfect SFP there is. This is obviously a ghost wick, right? This is not an actual wick. Yeah, when it's to the bottom, we call it a hammer candle. But yeah, shooting star. Same thing. Was it this one, or is it only on... Oh, wait, it's right there. We wicked within. Close above with a really nice hammer candle and just started going. This is like a textbook example of a swing failure pattern. This is absolute textbook. So this is essentially what we look for in swings. Okay, let's look at Link. Okay, so there is a valid shark right over here. That's the shark level. And on top of this being a shark, when we zoom out a lot, this is... I don't have it fully marked because this is a bit sketchy. But this is called a bearish Leo. This is also a bearish harmonic. So we have a very high time frame bearish harmonic. And then when we zoom in, we also have a bearish harmonic at the exact same spot. So for that reason, if Link ever gets here, I think it would be really good for shorts. Would I also long link? Zoom in a little. Let's see. I don't necessarily see a long setup over here. What you can do is... No, I don't think this it's gonna reach. No, 275 doesn't reach. I don't necessarily have a long setup here. What you can do, I don't trade support and resistance, right? But if you do, you can take these levels, and if we ever see a flip of this level, you can try to take a long based on that. But I will never do this. I don't like support and resistance. But in general, if this gets flipped, I think you see at least the B point. If the B point gets flipped, I think you see higher, and if we actually see higher, this is where I would short. This is not a chart I would currently look to trade, just because it's like, it's in the middle of nowhere. It's essentially at resistance, you're waiting for levels to be flipped, but there's no actual short setup. So you have no short setup, no long setup. It's just waiting for higher, essentially. I heard a lot of people saying Link could reach $100 plus in this bull run top. What are your thoughts on the spot wise? Okay, could Link do that? Yes, I think it is possible. I think if you look at the market cap, it is possible that Link reaches that. Now, if it is possible, does that mean it's going to happen? First of all, obvious answer is no, it doesn't have to happen. Second of all, do we have a reason to assume that Link is actually going to go that high? Is there a reason for us to say, okay, our next target is $100? Because I don't think so. First of all, when we look at this chart, there's a bearish harmonic right there. 31 is your resistance first. Then your second level is going to be 88, or the 886. So that is going to be $34. Yeah, but Trump invested into a lot, and Trump is not really that good at trading or finance in general. So I wouldn't take that as a good sign per se. I mean, it could be a good sign, right? But yeah, I mean, he has already bought. It could work. It could get a spot ETF, but even if they do, is $100 your next target? In the end, there are a lot of levels you have before 100. So even if it is possible, we don't have a reason to assume that we're going to go to $100. Now, as for really high targets, the reason why I'm saying this is because we have so many setups here. There's a short setup right there, and I haven't drawn it, right? But there's a short setup right here as well at the 886. There's one at the 113 right there as well. There's one at the 1272 as well. There are a ton of short setups on this chart. There are a lot of levels that you need to flip before assuming that you're going to go higher. Because there are 4 macro short levels already before we even get to all-time high. So as long as those are there, I don't think there's a reason to assume that we're going to go to 100. So I wouldn't take that into account. However, once we flip all-time high, if we flip all-time high to support, that is when you can start considering those targets. But that is really far away. There is so much that needs to happen for that to actually happen. Once that happens, though, that's when you can start considering really high targets. So if that happens, if Link ever flips all-time high to support, that's when I would simply draw a fib like that. And I would say 1.618 is a very reasonable target. So I wouldn't say $100, but 82 sounds reasonable. I think $100 is just like a round number Moonboy target, right? That is just the first really high number that people get to. $100 probably not. If we flip all-time high to support, I think you can get 82. But that is a really big if. So don't take that as I am going to sell everything at 82. That's a really big if. And this is like, this looks nearly impossible, and it is. I don't think this is going to happen. I really don't think this is going to happen. But I also didn't think so for XRP, right? It can happen. So when I look at XRP, I always said this $5 target, if you flip all-time high into support, that is your target. But we're at all-time high now, and we are rejecting it. This doesn't look good. This is a textbook SFP, and we're starting to show signs of rejection and signs of weakness. However, still, if it gets flipped into support, that is one of your targets. It's a big if, but once it happens, it's tradable. Still want $5 on XRP? I wouldn't. What's it called? Any public space is going to be absolutely unendurable. It is going to be terrible to be in a public Discord. We're just going to go on Twitter and it's literally just filled with XRP posts. I think when XRP is going to be at $5, that's the moment where you're going to like get like daily or weekly just messages by family like, hey, should I buy XRP? Because I've already seen and had those, right? Yeah, I don't want $5 XRP, but if we do, you know what? Honestly, I kind of do want it. I want to short $5. Having a short here at $5.30 XRP is going to be really good. That is one you would open on several exchanges, and one of them just really low size just for the screenshot. You just open a separate exchange account with entries like that to just keep for the bear market. Okay, next was, I think it was Whiff, right? It was Hook. Hook was next, and Whiff after that. Well, what exactly did you ask about Hook? Nook still convinced it could reach $1.30. I think this ties really well into what I just explained. Let's take a look at Hook. So Hook is an example like this as well, right? This is the spot play we're in, and you might notice, hey, why did you take profits over here? Even though if we zoom out, your final TP is up there. Why would you want to take profits over here when you are literally looking at a 10x? Makes sense. That is a really good question. So the reason for this is very simple. And it is exactly what I just explained, right? Even though I think this could eventually be a target, I think it can reach that. I think Hook can reach $3.50. We are not there yet. We have so many levels we need to flip before we can even take that into actual consideration. For example, literally when we zoom into our current harmonic, the one we're currently basing a play upon, ish. I know this one. Don't look, harmonic traders. Ignore it. Even when we're looking at this one, and we look at the technical targets of this, these are the technical targets. 0.302, 0.618. These are 2 levels before that already. Then we look at other harmonics and we see that there's a shark right there. Well, that is also just a very important level. We can even short that. However, and that's also what I just explained, if this level gets flipped into support, we now have so much room for higher. So what I told you as well in chat trading room, I think this is a level of resistance, right? I think BTC doesn't look that good. I think BTC can reject. I think fundamental analysis is pointing down. I mean, my kind of fundamental analysis, right? So I think this level is going to hold, quite frankly. So because of that, this is our current level. This is our current resistance. I think this is going to hold. If we flip that into support, though, that's when we can start considering higher. If we do, I will likely add. So using this level as an example, right here, the moment we get here, I'm probably going to TP this. I should have also honestly just marked this one out on the chart, but this is a very high likelihood area to TP. I think this is going to hold for the first time, because it's resistance. However, if we flip above it, we come back down, and we test it at support, even though price is going to be slightly higher, we're going to have so much more reason to assume that hook's going to go higher that even if we TP here, I am very likely going to add back into our position right there. Because important levels work in both ways, right? This is resistance when coming from below, but if we flip it to support, we can go a lot higher. It's now support. No, I would wait a bit. I would wait a bit if you want to DCA. So what I also mentioned in Hook's case is Hook didn't take any lows. Both this one and this one are untapped, and we obviously left this one. So I think there's a chance this gets run. I think there's a chance that we just go and run these lows and then close above. That's why we're DCA. Alternatively, you can go onto a lower time frame, right? And if we now come back to this neckline over here and start actually flipping it to support, right? We can elevate a bit above this. You get a nice candle into it that closes above. That's what you can DCA as well. Because that is the market telling you, hey, this neckline that once was resistance is now support. So I would wait for confirmation. If this level gets flipped, I would DCA. And if these lows get swept, I would DCA. That is what I would look for. Or would look for. That's what I'm looking for. Now, I'm not sure if I will actually take this. And the reason for that is what I explained earlier is I think Trump going into office is really bearish, and I think the chart doesn't look that good. Like the BTC chart. So I'm not sure if I would take this one. But if we ever sweep these lows, I think it's a really good ad. And I will absolutely take that. Yeah, no worries. I really enjoy teaching. So it's really fun just, what's it called? Having a bunch of people tuning and what's it called? Just being able to teach what I do. Really enjoy that. Because in the end, that traded system that not a lot of people will instantly understand, right? Something like support and resistance is a bit more simple. You can look at areas where prices reacted a lot, place a line there. Hey, that's your level. But being able to teach a system that not a lot of people know about is really fun. Virginia with the shill in chat. Oh, that's my wingman right there. My man. No, okay. No, signups are still open for that, but I don't like shitting it. Even though I really do like teaching, and even if I can really recommend the course. Okay, I will what's it called? Okay, I will do a little bit about my course, but I'll do it later. I'll do it at the end of the stream. Let's look at tickers first. Let's end this, and then I will do it. Okay. Let's see. I think the last suggestion we had was Whiff and Doge. Okay, I'm gonna call it that. It's gonna be Whiff, Doge, then I will showcase something about my course, and that's that will go on. Okay, let's look at Whiff. Where is the dog with that? So this is our positional Whiff, right? The reason we took this is very simple. There is a very large macro harmonic right there. There's your bullish bad. And Whip specifically is a coin that respects like literally every single high time frame harmonic. This bottom is a high time frame godly. This top is a high time frame bad. And we have now come down, and this is now a very high time frame bad. So in this case, I really wanted to take this long because I think there's a very good chance that it's the bottom. I think this call looks really good. Now, we are in an area of resistance. So what we really like to see is for Whip to come back down, retest this as support. So these kind of wicks that we have over here that we use as support a few times. And if we do that, we can either look to add or maybe get a spot position in or something like that. Because I think flipping this to support is going to be a really good sign of strength. Now the other obvious sign of strength would be breaking market structure. This is our current high, right? If we start closing above that, this will now be an uptrending chart. But that's still really far away. So in general, I think Whip looks really good. when I look at things like the RSI as well, like these things are all indicating that this was at least a significant bottom, which is why we took it. But for actual continuation, we need to flip areas to support. We need to confirm that this is not just a random impulse push. So we need to flip 1.73 to support, and ideally we want to break market structure as well by closing above 2.2. Now, because this move was so radical, I would not actually long when we get this. Like, usually I would give a long when flipping this to support, but I wouldn't actually take this myself, so I don't want to give this. Because even if we do flip it to support, your invalidation is really low. Because there's nothing here. ICT traders would argue that there's fair value gap here, right? That's why it's not profitable. There's nothing here. There's no structure, there's nothing. Your first support level is going to be right over there, and your market structure level is like right over there. This is such wide invalidation. So if we flip this to support, I wouldn't actually take the long, probably. Maybe a spot position, but invalidation is just really wide. So do I think it looks good? Yeah, I do. I think it's going to go a lot higher, but I don't think this is an area where I can actually get into a position. Wait, XCN? What is XCN? I've never even heard of that. What is that? This just looks like a short squeeze. It's like one of the tickers that literally no one trades, but it has like really negative funding rates or something, because a lot of people are short, and then it just starts a cascade. So a lot of coins that similar to XRP. Now, to be fair, I see where you're coming from. It kind of does look like it. The initial low kind of impulse up, second higher low. No, this is not a coin I would trade. There's nothing to do on this chart. This looks like I think it's Reef, right? Was it Reef? I don't remember the ticker. I thought it was Reef, but I don't think. Qcoin chart. Yeah, it's this one. It looks a lot like Reef, where it just suddenly starts really like running up because there's just a ton of shorters that just get liquidated. More people short, more people get liquidated, etc. And it just starts a cascade, and then eventually it just nukes. So I wouldn't touch it. There's nothing to do on that chart. Nothing to do there, so I wouldn't. It is always funny seeing those things, though. Okay, I was gonna look at Doge. Okay, so for Doge, I was looking at a few plays, but we never got a trigger. So now I am gonna be looking at this. So first of all, Doge doesn't look that bad. I want to say that Doge looks a lot better than a lot of other coins. This coin looks pretty good. I've been seeing that ticket around so much. I'm gonna add that to the list. I'm gonna do that one as well. But yeah, Doge looks better than others, but there's still a bearish pattern on here. And in confluence with what I've explained earlier about what I think the market's gonna do, it would still make sense to look for shorts. So wait, let me do this faster actually. When we look at this, we have two very clear bearish harmonics right here. We have these are essentially just connected. I'm just gonna do it like that. So we essentially just have a Gartley and a deep Gartley right there. So this would be my area for shorts. Now I wouldn't blindly short this because especially with Trump coming into office, there is a chance this just gets a really high impulse candle and then starts dropping. So I wouldn't limit this. But in general, this pattern indicates shorts. Now, if we actually start flipping this to support, that's when I will consider higher. So until that happens, I will consider essentially something like this. And I'm going to place the text to this. So, especially because it's Doge, there's a really good chance it just gets an impulse up and it's going to liquidate all of the shorts before actually moving lower. But yeah, I would consider Doge for shorts. And then if we actually start flipping into sport, that's when we can look for longs. Because the higher time frame chart on Doge still looks really good. On a higher time frame, Doge still looks fantastic. We are still in the spot position, but only have a small amount left, right? Where is Doge actually? Right there. So this is the high time frame chart. On a very high time frame, I still think we can get this. This is where I'll actually be looking at swing shorts. But there's a good chance that our little the guardian we just drew probably actually coincides with that macro fan. Wait, does it? No, okay, it doesn't. Yeah, there's a chance this actually gets wicked. I think this wicks higher before moving down. We probably retest this trend line. Trend line, the Fib fan. If we flip to sport, figure higher, otherwise I will assume lower. Odds on Tau gonna go a lot lower. Might be the most overrated coin there is. Where is Tau actually? Wow, I haven't charted this in a while. Okay. Okay, let me actually just delete most of these. Thoughts on Tau is this. I think there's a decent chance that we get this. And the reason why I say that is because this really shouldn't be consolidating here. This coin is supposedly really strong, but the only thing we've been doing so far, if you look at this fan, right, we've been dropping levels every single time. First consolidation push was in this area, right? Now we retested the 0.5 twice, and we have now gone back, and our retest only managed to get to the 618. This has been consistently dropping in levels, so I think it's going to keep doing that. Until we actually like start flipping the C point to support. So I'm personally not touching Tau. That's also just me, like I really dislike this token for some reason. But in general, I really wouldn't trade this token personally. Because whenever you look at this, like we have had so many taps of this these harmonics, and AI coins have been so strong, but all Tau managed to do was make a lower high. So this just indicates a ton of weakness to me. This really doesn't look good. All we've managed to do is just consolidate, which is really not good. So I think we're gonna go a bit lower, take our liquidity lower. Okay, I was gonna add other AI. What a terrible name. And then I'm gonna call it a day. Let's see, which one has the most data? Next 8 probably. Why can I chart this? Okay, let's actually chart it. Let's put in a bit of effort. So, first of all, fibs. We are at some pretty good levels. Now when we zoom in, there is a very obvious M shape. Right there. Just with intolerance. And the D point would be, first of all, at the 786, right over there. That is your first level. Let me just, let me draw it out, actually. I have a feeling that I'm gonna hear this ticker a lot more. So I'll draw it out so I can just send people the screenshot. Gonna save me a lot of time. So first off I would look at is this one. This is a bullish Leo. Where is it? Essentially that's the first part of this harmonic, and the second one would be right there. Now, as long as we are below this B point, I will assume that we're gonna hit one of these. So I will assume that we're either gonna hit this or we're gonna hit this. Does it have to happen? No, but that is an area I would likely bid. Now let's see. This also coincides really well with. Oh, it's the wrong one. With this 2.0 fib level, so there's a good chance that this Leo is actually going to be the one that holds. So for that reason, I am likely going to place my entry at that Leo, because it's such a high time frame level. I think that's going to hold, and then my validation below that guardian. In the bad. So essentially, I want to use this as a validation, but give it a little bit of room. So right below that. So for that reason, where would be TP? Likely just on these fib levels. This is an uptrending chart, so I'm taking the final TP to all-time high for the reason that this chart is just steadily uptrending. So there's no real reason for us to assume that it's going to stop doing that. I am not sure if I would take TP1 there. It would likely have to depend on the reaction. If you start like suddenly really reacting to this level, I would like TP. So I'm going to mark this as an optional TP. And the reason for that is because this is a very high time frame level, but it is very close to our entry. So is it really worth taking this play if we are going to take this as first TP? Probably not. But it is an important level. So if we react to it, we do want to de-risk. So that's going to be an optional TP, and then the other TPs are just going to be on these fibs. This would essentially be a box, right? So I'm only going to take one of these. And then just like that. So you're going to have 4 or 5 TPs, depending on if this level reacts or not. I would only take this if you actually see a good reaction. Yeah, I think this is how I would play it. I'm not someone to trade low liquidity tickers, and you can see that this has low liquidity because of the way these candles form, right? Everything is just opening and closing right next to each other, so liquidity is really low. But in general, this looks pretty good. If the ticker was Bitcoin and not the fake one, the actual one, I would likely take this long. The AI. I don't even wanna. I don't even want to know what the actual like picture looks like. Because what's it called? These new Soul like AI agent tokens. I don't know. It's so stupid. AI meme coins. Who even thought of that? Okay. That is mostly gonna be it for me today. We went over a lot of tickers today. We even went over some actual what's it called? Some actual information for once. Went over a ton of things about news events. So it was a really good stream. I'm gonna upload the recording later. Someone asked about it earlier, so I'll quickly mention it. I do have a course, and signups are open until tomorrow, because tomorrow we're gonna actually start the course. That's when the course starts again. If you want more information, send me a DM, and I will try and get you in before the class actually starts. Okay. With everything being said, I'm gonna call it a day here. I'm gonna end the recording, end the stream, and I will see everyone next week, hopefully. I enjoyed it. Thank you. Well, thank you for coming as well. Really appreciate everyone that came into the stream, and especially those that are asking questions. Really appreciate it, lads. All right, see ya. Yeah, see you tomorrow, replay. All right. See you later.